Welcome to another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show. Thursday, December 29th. Ian Cameron, Conor Mack with you, ready to break it down on a Thursday. A bigger slate tonight to work with in college hoops, coming off a smaller card last night. Best bet for me, Richmond and Coppin. We cashed that over, so good to see. Hopefully more good things coming into tonight and this Thursday slate. So with that in mind, let's get into it. We've got Providence and Butler, little Big East matchup to get it going. Butler 2.5, 3-point home favorites, 140.5 the total in this game. I do like the Butler side in this one. Short home favorites. Think they get the job done here. Hinkle Fieldhouse, always pretty solid home floor for Butler. Pretty good first year for Thad Matta's team so far, 8-5. Pretty solid, but 6-1 straight up, 5-2 ATS at home. Butler the last time they were on this floor, they didn't play well. At Creighton, they got beaten pretty soundly as well, but I think a solid bounce back opportunity for them here in this game against Providence. Providence has been playing well, don't get me wrong, 5 straight wins, but this year they have not faced a ton of these type of situations yet this year where you're talking going on the road, a true road game environment, and they did last time at TCU. They lost by 13. They did get a win at Seton Hall, 71-65. I think it'll be a little bit more difficult here. When you look at these spots, you look at it and you see, wow, Providence playing great, right? Butler kind of struggling the last two, but I think it makes sense here to maybe jump in on the Butler side this time around. Short home favorites in this one. I think the key, too, as well, when you look at the matchup here, is that the Butler team, like I said, on the defensive end of the basketball court, they've been very solid in that regard. Not so much with Providence, who are still struggling a little bit to defend the three ball, and Butler's been relatively solid. When you're hitting close to 35% from three, you're doing it well. So I like Butler here in this one a little bit as a short home favorite. What do you think, C-Mac, Providence, Butler?
You know what? I get why you like Butler at home. There seems like a good bounce back after getting their ass whipped to UConn and to Creighton, especially in the second half. You know, they looked all right early. I like how Providence has been playing, though. I don't know if this one I didn't have right away, but I kind of lean them to the three a little bit. They've shot it well, 31st in the nation scoring. Their field goal percentage is good. The dog has been great in this rivalry as of late. Providence, 5-0 their last 5 against the number. I'm leaning Providence a little bit at +3.
They're playing well. There's no question about that. I do think in this situation, though, we're going to Butler will play a little bit better, but you're right. And the one thing about Providence is they're usually not a bad dog because they seem to play a lot of close games. Will that be the case?
Experience too of this team. I really like guard play. Hopkins. I think they keep it tight,
which they've been able to do in the past. We'll see if they can here tonight with the Butler Bulldogs. All right, Iowa, Nebraska in the Big Ten. We've got Iowa 4-point road favorites, 150 the total. I like the over here. Should see a lot of points. Historically, Iowa, Nebraska head-to-head here in Big Ten play. We've seen a lot of high-scoring affairs. We saw, and by the way, the totals in the last 4 meetings have been 158.5, 156, 159, and 162. And they all got up and over the total. And now tonight you're dealing with the lowest total of the bunch. And look, I get it. Okay, Chris Murray, I should say, a little bit banged up with the foot injury, but he's going to be back for Iowa. And the son of the coach, Conor McCaffrey, the son of Fran McCaffrey, the coach, has got a wrist injury. He may not play tonight for Iowa. And there's certainly some injuries on the Nebraska side of the equation with Denham Dawson, Blaze Cada, both questionable for this game tonight against Iowa. But still, to warrant this total being as low as it is, you're going to get some relatively brisk pace on both sides going into this matchup as well. I like points. I think it's a little too low. I like over 150 here between Iowa and Nebraska. And look, Iowa's been better defensively this year compared to some years past, but one thing about Nebraska here, and they have been up and down at times offensively, but Nebraska's not had a problem at getting their offense going against Iowa. They've had some decent offensive showings here lately head-to-head. We know Iowa has just put a big-time hurting on this Nebraska team in the past offensively. I mean, Iowa's been good for at least 88 points in 4 straight meetings against Nebraska, and certainly that offensive potency could once again be on full display here tonight. So I like the over. Nothing on the side. I mean, it's just not enough points to take Nebraska, in my opinion. I need more points than 4. I'm going to stick to the total here. What do you think, Conor?
Man, this game, both ways. The key, you mentioned, though, McCaffrey, and Murray. Murray even more. Both guys. I think they have to play to look Iowa's way because, I mean, this team just lost as over 30-point favorites. No fucking way do I want them. Unless they're in and you think they come out strong. I don't. I'm not crazy about Nebraska. I lean their way a little bit, the 4.5. They struggle shooting, but they played good defense all year. You talked about Iowa. I still think they're bad defensively. And you mentioned these matchups have gone over. But Nebraska's just been a dead under team for me all year long, which has been a different, from years past. So this total's tough. I leaned a little bit over. I haven't bet it. I mean, under the 150. It's just Iowa. There's shitty defense. This could get into back and forth and get over. But for the lean on the total, I still lean under, and I'd lean Nebraska.
All right, lean Nebraska, lean under here. Iowa has to, you would think, really be chomping at the bit to get back on the court because what happened to them in their last game is embarrassing. Let's be honest. You can't lose to Eastern Illinois like that. It's an awful lot.
Maybe look at them early.
Yeah.
Cab in the chat. He likes them early.
Yeah, Cabby likes his first halves. I could clearly see that being a potential here for a first half bet. As we have ourselves, are you shitting me? Syracuse was going to score here. Minnesota's now rumbling down the sideline, and they might be returning this for a touchdown here against Syracuse. No, it's pulled down by the freaking. Oh, you know what? He got tackled like at the 25, but they're going to get a horse collar tackle onto that. So Minnesota's going to have the ball in the red zone with 3:22 to go. In this game. So there's not so much for the side. Minnesota's now in. Syracuse was literally going to score because they were in the red zone against Minnesota, but there was a fumble and Minnesota just recovered it and went all the way down the field. So this is basketball show, but I had to mention that because we got some side and total both at stake here late in this Pinstripe Bowl.
Yeah. Take a knee. Hand it off. Take a knee.
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, Syracuse doesn't have any timeouts, so one first down, and they'll be able to, without scoring a touchdown, and they might be able to just take a knee. So this total is going to go right down to the wire here, whether it goes over or under with the Syracuse and Minnesota. All right, next up we've got Georgetown, DePaul. Back to the Big East here. Georgetown currently on the road in this one, or DePaul rather, 4-point favorites, 153 the total in this game. It's a pretty rough game here because of the fact you've got two teams that have been all over the map, both of them below 500. DePaul 6-7. They are 4-1 straight up though at home. Only 2-3 against the spread. Georgetown's 0-3 straight up on the road, and it's been ugly. But they've also played Texas Tech, Syracuse, and UConn in their true road games. And this is not DePaul necessarily. I'm tempted to back Georgetown honestly, because I think Georgetown at least has had a pretty tough schedule lately. Played UConn, played Xavier, played Syracuse. Don't sleep on that Siena team they played. They're pretty good Metro Atlantic Conference team. Texas Tech. I mean, that's a pretty rugged schedule here for Georgetown. And you start to look at DePaul here, and they got blown out by Creighton. They get absolutely eviscerated by Northwestern, 83-45. They lose by 11 at Duquesne. Not a lick of defense half the time. Once again from DePaul. We can't be surprised anymore. This team's never been a great defensive team. That's why the total, by the way, both of these teams struggle at that end of the floor. This total, I could only look over 153, 153.5. But I'm going to take the points with the Hoyas in this game. I mean, I just think that DePaul, they've been okay at home. Georgetown's been rough on the road. Like I said, 0-3 straight up. But a lot of teams are going to go 0-3 straight up on the road at Texas Tech, at Syracuse, and at UConn. You know what I mean? That's a tough schedule right there. And Georgetown's long-term been a good dog under Ewing. I mean, this year it's been more hit or miss, but I sure as fuck would rather take +4 with Georgetown than lay 4 with DePaul. So I do have a small bet on the Hoyas here, Georgetown. What do you think here, Connor?
That's how I feel. No way do I want to lay 4 points, with DePaul. Not a team that plays defense like that. Yeah, star child. DePaul did get that cover against Creighton over the weekend. They lost just by 15 there at the end. I mean, just going through all the numbers, we know how bad these teams are defensively. This is over. Just take the over. I think it gets over. They're both horrible all through the numbers. One problem is they are sloppy with the ball, both these teams, and at times struggle to shoot it, but it just should be back and forth, up and down, up and down. So, not that I want to lay with DePaul. I guess I'd lean on the side. With Georgetown, I don't want them either. I just look over. I think this gets over the 153.
I agree. I like that over, and I like the underdog here just because I don't trust the favorite, and I think Georgetown's at least cut their teeth on tougher opponents lately compared to DePaul. All right, next up, we've got South Florida, Memphis. We've got Memphis 15-point home favorites, 139 the total. I'm putting this improvement in South Florida to the test tonight, CMAC. I like the Bulls here. Running of the Bulls here, USF plus the points. They're an improved team, and we're not asking South Florida to beat Memphis here. We're not asking even South Florida to, really threaten this team down the wire. We're talking about just hang in there, be competitive. They are an improved offensive team. This South Florida team, that was a huge issue for them, obviously, the last couple of seasons. And I'm not saying they're terrific now shooting the basketball, but compared to where they were last year, it's a huge improvement. They could barely crack 60 points last year in a lot of their games. This year, they're averaging almost 70 points per game. So that's, big increase from last year. Memphis, obviously defensively, we've seen a lot of good things from them. They're still a ragged and inconsistent bunch at times, though, offensively. It's up and down. It's all over the place. You're going to see that they score a lot of points, 80s in a lot of their games recently. But a lot of that is because the pace is so high. They're still, ragged shooting the basketball, erratic here from time to time. South Florida, I think, has got the potential to hang in there in this one. Now, last year, these teams met March the 3rd, only one meeting. South Florida, 13-point dog. They only lost by 9. See, that's what I kind of think we could get here in this game. We could see definitely a situation where you've got, South Memphis in control, leading most of the way, but never in a position where they're going to extend the margin to beyond 15 points here tonight in this game. And if you actually look at some of Memphis's schedule here of late, Arkansas, Little Rock, they only won by 16 as 28.5-point favorites. Ole Miss, they won by 11. They didn't cover as huge favorites against North Alabama. The bigger favorite roles, I'm still reluctant with this Memphis team. I like South Florida here tonight, just to hang around enough to stay inside the number. What do you think here, C-Mac?
This is quick for me, but I agree with you. If I did bet this game at all, I don't want to lay points with Memphis. You mentioned how they've been just erratic, but they're the better team here. I still think the turnovers, and you mentioned it, the shooting's so up and down, it's inconsistent at times. I think this Bulls team's, shot a little bit better. Miguel, there's a few guys that can score for them, so I think they can hang around. I didn't bet it, but I'd take the points if I had to.
All right, take the points. A lean there for Conor Mack as well. Yeah, Syracuse did get the ball back. It was one of those weird penalty deals that negated the fumble return. So instead of Minnesota in the red zone, it's Syracuse once again in the red zone, back to where they were. So we'll keep an eye on that. The totals, actually, the side is at stake now too as well.
Yeah.
In this game, because Syracuse with this touchdown here, they're covering the numbers. So side and total are on the line here in this game. Crazy shit here at the end of this Pinstripe Bowl. All right, next up, we've got BYU and Pacific. BYU here laying 6.5, 7 on the road, 151.5 the total. So just mirrors BYU kind of mediocre this year. Now, look, they've had some good games too. The Creighton win was very impressive, 83-80, but that was when Creighton was without Ryan Kalkbrenner. That's when Creighton was really struggling at the time, and BYU caught him at the right time. I know they've played a little bit better lately. They did have the win against Utah, 75-66, but they've just been a little bit all over the place here, BYU, in this season. They also had bad losses, South Dakota, Utah Valley, 7-point favorites. They were at home. They lost that game outright. We'll see how they fare here against Pacific. Pacific, whenever they're catching points, I'm interested. As dogs this year, UC Davis won outright. Fresno State, 4.5-point dogs. They won that game in outright fashion. This is also a Pacific team. They push tempo. They don't mind playing that style against any team. And BYU can't defend the perimeter. And Pacific has been lighting it up this year for their 3-point shooting. I think that keeps them in this game. I like Pacific home dog here, +7. What do you think, Connor?
I lean Pacific a little bit too, but they don't play any defense. BYU should be able to score as long as shots are going, and there won't be much defense. I like the over a little bit better here. I'm not involved in this one yet. I'd look that way. I really would, for me, I thought this was 9 for me to pull the trigger with Pacific. So it's close, but I'd lean Pacific with the points.
All right, I lean with the over too in that game. I agree with you there. Touchdown Syracuse. Wow, that was an incredible play right there by
it's a loser.
By what is it? With Schrader? Yeah, I'm shocked Schrader's playing honestly today because it looked like it was going to be Del Rio Wilson most of the lead up to this game, but Yeah, he didn't even have anybody open. He just ran around, and defense gave up the edge there to the end zone, and there you go. He ran it in. So Syracuse is covering. That puts the game over the total. So, but again, hold on here because they're going to have to onside kick now. And we saw yesterday, if you watched that game last night, Texas Tech and Ole Miss, CMAC, someone ran back an onside kick for a touchdown. So don't count this as a win yet if you've got Syracuse. You got to survive the onside kick coming up.
Yeah, at this point, I have Syracuse on to cover a little bit, but just end it here. I've already lost, though. I mean, who cares? Yeah, come back. Have another crazy game like last night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's end it right here for the Syracuse backers, for the over backers here in this one. All right. Next up, we've got, as we continue along here, it is Tulane and Cincinnati AAC matchup. We've got Cincinnati currently in this one. Let me just see here where the number was. Lost my screen here. There we go. Cincinnati 5-point home favorites, 151 the total in this game. The one concern with Tulane is they haven't been on a true road game yet. Schedule-wise, not the greatest in terms of competition. Certainly, when you look at Cincinnati, they've played a lot tougher teams leading up to this first conference game. That you played Arizona, you played Ohio State, you played Xavier. A lot of tough, good opponents on Cincinnati's resume. Not so much for Tulane. So, you worry that maybe they're going to have a harder time than imagined here tonight against Cincinnati. But Tulane beat Cincy last year, 68-60, when these two teams met. I'm always interested in Tulane catching points. I'm a big fan of their coach, Ron Hunter, did great stuff at Georgia State. And now, of course, doing a nice job here with this Tulane Green Wave team, 7-4 on the season, only 2-9 against the spread. Tulane, they have not been good for their backers, and they've only covered once in their last 10 games. But in a lot of these games, they're playing lower level competition, and they're massive favorites, and they're just not covering those numbers right now. This is a little bit different. I definitely lean hard to Tulane. I might stay off, though. I just don't like the strength of schedule for them. It's concerning, and I also don't like the fact that their defensive play, it's basically been a little bit inconsistent so far this season. They are an excellent free throw shooting team, though. 80% from the line, 5th in the country free throw percentage. That could keep them in this game, and Cincinnati's not a great free throw shooting team in comparison. So definite a lean to Tulane, but don't know if I'll pull the trigger on it. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, I don't think I get involved here. You just mentioned, though, Tulane has played nobody. We talk about some of these teams. I mean, this is a dead last, depending on where you're looking, strength of schedule, all that stuff. They're right there, right? 357, 360. So Bearcats, last 7 at home, cover the number. I lean their way. You mentioned, though, the free throws isn't great. That's always been a problem with them. It seems like they shoot about 66%. And it's always doink doink in a close one. So I lean Cincy. I just don't love laying the points.
Yeah, they do have I think they're better offensively a little bit, Cincinnati this year.
I think they are too.
In the past, I'd lean over this total as well. When you've got Landers, Nolly, the transfers with them now. Lakin is a very good player for them shooting the ball. They've definitely improved themselves at that end of the floor. And I would think certainly I would lean over the total here, especially with Tulane's kind of up and down defensive ways this year so far to this point. All right, next up, we go to the Pac-12 here, a little late night action, Utah and California. Utah 10-point road favorites, 128.5 the total in this game. Of course, California has been just a disaster, really not just straight up 1-12. They haven't been any good point spread wise either this year. A little bit better, 5-8 against the spread, but still not very good. However, this is the start of conference play, and we always see sometimes when conference play begins, the teams that really had a tough time early in the non-conference season, they sometimes can become a little bit undervalued as conference play starts. Will that be the case for Cal? I don't know. And it's not like I'm going to be rushing to back Cal, but it is worth noting that we've seen some decent Utah teams, even some good Utah teams the last couple of years. But the last 5 meetings, Cal is 5-0 ATS against Utah. For some reason, this has been a troublesome opponent for the Utes. Even in these years, the last couple where Cal's been a disaster. Cal beat them in overtime, 86-79 here in Berkeley. Cal beat Utah in Utah. 72-63, January 2021. Utah squeaks out a 1-point win at Cal Berkeley, February 2021. Last year, 2 meetings, Utah 66-58 by 8 at home, and Utah here at Cal Berkeley, a 2-point win, 60-58. That's some very strong series history recently pointing toward Cal, plus the points, believe it or not, in this game. And you start to look at Utah, on the road. They have only played the Utes this year 2 true road games. One of them was at Washington State in Pac-12 play against the Cougars. They got an overtime win, 67-65 in that one. And the other was BYU. They were 2.5-point road favorites at BYU. They lost 75-66. So this is one of those, hold your nose, but I'm on the Cal side here. +10, +10.5. Hold your nose. It's not pretty. This is an ugly offensive team. And if they struggle to shoot, we know they can obviously lose by margin and lose contact. But, I mean, Utah has had no evidence, none, zero, of winning and beating this team by double digits in recent years. None at all. And so I got to look toward Cal here at this number. Certainly from a value standpoint and a bargains perspective, the value is Cal. The bargain is Cal. They just need to not fuck it up too much and just hang inside the number, which I think they could. What do you think here, Conor?
Yeah, Utah, you mentioned the BYU game, and then I thought they could beat TCU, and they don't. They lose in a close game there. They should just give it to Carlson here. To me, slow. Utah's good. This is under, even a slow total. And that brings in the dog. Even early on in the year, Cal played some games, but they lose by 13. They have a few of these 14, 12. That's where I was hoping to have it. But Utah just traditionally, to go to Berkeley, it's not easy. No way do I want to back them and lay points right now on the road with Utah. I haven't betted. I haven't held my nose yet, but I'd lean Cal here in the points. And under.
Say what you will about Cal. They've covered 2 in a row here the last couple. So showing signs at least of more competitiveness.
They still suck.
They still suck. They're still horrible offensively. I don't deny that whatsoever. And that's always been the problem with them. I mean, 59.2 points per game. They're in the 300s in shooting percentage and 3-point percentage. And Utah can play some defense, so you do get concerned that they just don't score enough to stay within 10. But I think that still could happen here in this one, as we've got a little bad blood breaking out at the end of the Syracuse-Minnesota bowl game. All right, next up, we've got Colorado and Stanford. Next up, it's also a Pac-12 game. Stanford, 2-point home favorites, 138.5 being the total in this one. Stanford, 5-7 on the year. You got to admit, it's been very disappointing what we've seen from Stanford. They are coming off a good game, though, against Loyola Chicago, 75-62. Can that be a sign of things to come for the Stanford Cardinal? Colorado on the flip side, they've won 4 in a row. Colorado State, North Alabama, Northern Colorado, and Southern Utah in those games. Now they go on the road for a true road game for, I believe, only the 3rd time this year, but they're 0-2 straight up, 0-2 against the spread. The 2 previous times they've been on the road, Colorado this year. At Washington, they lost by 10, and the other game was way back in the year against Grambling State, 14-point favorites, and they lost that game 83-74 in that one. I think Stanford might get them here tonight. I mean, you're starting to see Stanford play a little bit better. They're getting healthy as well, which is pretty good. The concern for Stanford is, again, just like with Cal, not so much like Cal, as bad as Cal, but they can go into offensive droughts. They're only shooting 43% as a team, 30.5% from 3-point range. It's definitely not what you want to see. But what I do like here for Stanford is their defensive numbers are improving. That's a good sign. If you look at rebounding, their rebounding numbers, both offensive and defensive rebounding margin, a slight edge to the Cardinal in this game. They're a better free throw shooting team than Colorado. I think there's things that kind of point toward the Cardinal here a little bit. Short price, just asking them to win the game on their home floor. Colorado team that's been kind of more than kind of bad, real bad on the road so far in their 2 true road games. So I like Stanford a little bit here. Short home favorites. What do you think?
That's this all these years. Going on the road has been their problem. When they're at Boulder, they're a solid team. And they've been playing well as of late, but those have all been at home and just taking care of business. This is interesting. Offense here against Colorado. Who's going to dictate the pace? At home, Stanford, better defensively. You mentioned some of those. I kind of lean Stanford in this one. Colorado's been pretty good to the over, but Stanford doesn't want to get up and down, I don't think. I lean Stanford. I got to see more to want to lay points, even a short number with them. But Colorado on the road, I don't want it. That's for sure.
All right, there we go. That is the marquee games on this Thursday college basketball slate. Let's hit the like button. 92 live viewers here on YouTube. Hit that like button. We appreciate it very much. Conor, let's talk about some games that you like tonight that we have not mentioned yet.
Let's hit up the chat real quick. Boston Nick, there he is. Real Deal Prime, the grinder. My man Chip, good to see Rob Free, Justin, Cab, our guy here, Don Play, Nasty Nate. Shout out to everyone. Hit the like. Like Banner said, Kirk, Greg, Keith, Lance, Starchild. Shout out to all you guys. Billy Brisbane, there he is. Willie Beeman up in the chat. Let's go through a few of these ones. I like a couple ugly dogs, as you talked about here. I like UTEP a little bit. I think it spreads too big there, getting 15. One other one. I think this team's turned it around a little bit, Babano, and that's VMI. And I think this is a little bit too high. So I like the 19.5 with them. UTSA, La Tech, I think they get over 145. And this one's moved a little bit. FAU, North Texas. I like the under, 126. This is dropped, though, a little bit too much. But still, I think it's solid at 123. There's a couple late nights, too, we could get into that I haven't bet, but I'm looking at Bakersfield or Cal Baptist, a couple of these teams that I think can hang around late tonight.
Yeah, I like the VMI bet that you mentioned. I think that is just a few too many there with the key debts, as they're starting to show signs of little improvement with their recent results. So I'm with you there with the VMI look in that one, in that matchup tonight. So VMI plus the points, I think definitely worth a look against Furman. I know Furman's capable, but I also don't know if Furman's nearly quite as good, as we've seen from them in the last couple of years.
That's a ton. Furman's a better team here, but 20? I just think VMI, that just stood out to me. And I've been watching them, how bad those losses were early on. They played tough, won a few games, lost a few tight ones. Just, same teams here, that Furman's playing. So I like that 19.5.
All right, good stuff indeed. A couple that I'm liking here, James Madison, Georgia State. I like the over there in that one. I'm always interested when James Madison's playing. Rice and Western Kentucky. I don't trust Western Kentucky, man. I know Rice doesn't play much defense, but I'm taking the points with Rice. I don't trust Western Kentucky. I'm really, really not enamored with what I've seen from them. I like the over in that game too, Rice and Western. You mentioned the over with UTSA La Tech. It's probably a good look. I like Delaware and over the total against Hofstra. I agree with that move. Line going the way it is. Delaware's starting to play better lately. The Blue Hens. Hofstra's another one of those teams. Maybe not nearly as good as we've seen from them in the past. Delaware, small home favorites, and the over there. I like Central, Michigan, plus 22. You can't tell me Michigan is going to bring it for 40 minutes here because, right before, Big Ten conference play really ramps up. I'm not sure you're going to get Michigan all that right around the holidays too. I mean, it's a perfect spot for Central Michigan to just quietly lose by 16. Something like that, and stay inside the number. That's what I think. And Michigan's never a team I trust as 22-point favorites. So I'm liking Central there. Chattanooga, I think they could roll Citadel. I have a small bet on the 7.5, laying the points. I think that team's really good. Lean over as well in that game. I like Purdue Fort Wayne a little bit against Robert Morris as well in that one, but would look at money line rather than laying the 2.5 in that game. What else do we, in terms of games that we have not talked about yet? Oh, Hampton and College of Charleston over the total. I like that one. UTEP UAB. I was tempted by UTEP in that game a little bit with UTEP and UAB in that.
Oh,
What's funny?
I mentioned it. I'm taking it. Yeah, the points there. Yeah, with UTEP.
It's funny. I had that in the marquee games, and I skipped over it. Yeah, UTEP UAB. I definitely leaned to mining for units with UTEP. And this is no slight against UAB, but they're an overvalued commodity right now, UAB. People know they're really good. People know Jelly Walker. People know they're excellent offensively. They score a lot of points. No question about that. But you look at their point spread record this year, it's been kind of up and down. They're only 5-6 ATS this year. They've been overvalued. UTEP's been tremendously undervalued so far this season. So double digits there. I think that could be a closer game than people think. And if you look at last year with the two teams, UAB won by 13, UAB won by 3. All right. So they won both meetings, neither of them by this point spread, neither of them by this kind of margin, 15 that we're talking about here. So I'm total agreement there with CMAC with plus 15 with UTEP there in that one. A couple others. I like the over in the Indiana, maybe the Indiana State team total over. I mean, they could rip apart Evansville defensively, and Indiana State has some scoring and punch to them. So maybe team total over Indiana State or the over full game with them versus Evansville, probably worth a look. Florida Atlantic, North Texas. North Texas, pretty strong home court. I don't like going against them, but I like the way Florida Atlantic's been playing. That's a real interesting game. The under probably makes sense. The total's being bet down in that Florida Atlantic North Texas game. I think points will be at a premium in that one for sure. Southern Miss, I just don't go against that team. They've been excellent, but Troy's been a nice little road underdog at times this year, so that's a stay off for me in that one. Grand Canyon and Cal Baptist, not involved in that, although I think Conor spoke on that one. Maybe Cal Baptist to look there. Tarleton State against Texas Arlington. I mean, Tarleton State is always one of those teams. I like that team a lot, but I like them more when they're catching points. It's always a little bit more of a struggle for them laying points. And Arlington, I think might be worth a look there as plus 7.
I think so too.
One. Yeah. Oral Roberts, Nebraska. Look, Oral Roberts is eviscerating teams. I feel they could absolutely steamroll Nebraska Omaha. Now, the difference is they've been doing a lot of this at home lately. Can they do it on the road? But I think there's talent-wise, there's a wide enough gap between them and Omaha. They could roll that team if they're bringing their best game to the court tonight. So Oral Roberts minus 13. I did have a small look toward that tonight as well. And what else here? I took San Diego, the Toreros, the Fighting Steve Lavins, getting 15.5 here at St. Mary's. St. Mary's is hit or miss when they're laying this many points. I know they're an excellent defensive team, but they play slow. They don't exactly put themselves in a position where they're always reliable when they're laying this many points, just based on the style of basketball that they play. So I'm on San Diego a little bit there, catching the double digits in that game. That's pretty much it. San Francisco, Santa Clara is a pretty interesting game. The over's been hit there. I could agree with that. 150. I think we might see points in that game. Santa Clara is really tough at home. So while San Francisco, maybe, look at them at first and say, hey, they're getting 3. Santa Clara, they've been pretty impressive and done pretty well on their home floor. So I would actually lean to Santa Clara there, but I think I like the over a bit more with that particular game. I believe now that is it. I think I've hit pretty much everything that I'm looking. Oh, and one game on the added board, or 2. Queens versus Austin P. I like the over a little bit there at 138.5. And I'm taking 7.5 with Bellarmine against Liberty. Bellarmine, I think Liberty can be really good and nails defensively. I get that. No question about it. But this is, I think, a very capable Bellarmine Knights squad. I think a real solid team, good in the underdog role. They faced a pretty tough non-conference portion of their schedule. I think they can step up here and give Liberty a game and Bellarmine on their home floor too. So home dog, Bellarmine plus 7.5. I like them.
I wrote that down today. Bellarmine's kind of played not great the last 3 or 4, but I thought this was a good spot for them, like you mentioned, plus 7 at home. So I like the bet. What somebody just put in the chat? A game. Oh, Charlotte. Yeah. I under there. I lean Charlotte a little bit. So I don't know if it's 2.5, but I think the under is just to play there against Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, I lean Weber State. I lean Weber State there for our guy Starchild in that game. Nothing on the total. I lean to the side of Weber State. Weber State's playing better, but again, now we're laying points. We've got a lot of these games lately we've been catching points with Weber State. Let's see how they fare here tonight. But I still think they could beat Northern Colorado on their home floor. The price did look a little short, 3.5. I would look to the favorite there, Weber State, in that game. Wisconsin, Milwaukee against Oakland. Oakland is starting to cover some numbers. they're still a really horrible defensive team. So that concerns me about ever laying points with them. Situationally, it sets up all right for them, though. So I would lean a little to Oakland, but not enough to bet it. Anything for you, Connor? That
No,
game?
nothing
No.
for me there.
All right. I believe I'm just looking to see anybody else with a question. Oh, Charleston Southern Georgia, or not Georgia, Charleston Southern Gardner Webb over 135. That game has started already, my friend. That was a 5 p.m. game. It's 38-21 Gardner Webb. It's actually in good shape, that over right now, Robert Franklin. So hopefully you bet it because it's 38-21, 59 points with still 5 minutes left in the first half. So if you bet that over, you're in good shape.
Radford looking tough here. See if they can beat Asheville. I got them.
Yeah, Radford and Asheville going down to the wire. I like that Radford side in that game, by the way, and we'll see if they can finish it off here. They were 4-point dogs, bet down to 2 in that one. And one more here. Oh, yeah. Binghamton, Cornell. I'm always interested in Cornell overs, but Binghamton's kind of the opposite. So it's kind of a clash styles game there in that one. And Wofford, this will be our last question. Wofford against East Tennessee State. In that game. I like ETSU a little bit there. I didn't bet it, won't be betting it, but I've got a lean to the underdog ETSU there. Wofford, I don't know. Wofford, to me, another one of these instances where I think Wofford's a better teams than this year's version.
Yeah, they've been better. Yeah, I think they're better at home. Man, East Tennessee State can grind games, and just keep it close. So that was one I looked at a lot today. Last one, too, for me. I don't know if anyone should. This game was tough because when they play, I know Marshall can score it, but App State's going to want to slow that down. I thought that total at 145 was a little bit high. I lean under, and I lean the points with App State, get 9.5.
All right, there we go. Great stuff. Thanks to the chat for popping in those questions. We appreciate it. Hit the like button. We'll wrap the show up in a few minutes with best bets right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke at Southtown 101 and manscaped.com. Promo code PubSports, 20% off your purchase. Free shipping as well with promo code PubSports. I believe, Connor, do we have Thursday night football live stream tonight?
Dallas, we got Tennessee? It. Thursday night live stream. Cowboys, Titans. What a game tonight. Don't let all the bullshit. There's still, some stuff going on, but, I think it'll be good. We'll make some money, hopefully here tonight as well. Hosted. So join us. Yep. Anyone else? Yeah. Shout out to the chat. Be in the chat. Come join me on screen. All that good shit. Let's have some fun.
There you go. It is tonight hosted by our one and only Connor Mack here. Thursday night football, Cowboys and Titans. We'll see how that one goes. I bet the Cowboys team total over, by the way. I posted that on Twitter, 26.5. Some books have 27.5. Like, if they don't score 27, 28 minimum against this Tennessee defense tonight, shame on Dallas. Like, there's no Danico Autry. There's no Jeffrey Simmons. It's 2 of their best defensive linemen. There's 2 linebackers, Zach Cunningham and Bud Dupree, that are out. The safety, Amani Hooker, isn't playing. Christian Fulton, their best cornerback, is missing his 4th straight game. Like, that is a riddled, shorthanded, depleted defense. If they don't score 27, there's something wrong. But it's Dallas, so crazy shit can happen with them.
It does just a little bit. All that works in Dallas's favor, but this just seems like the flattest fucking spot for after the big, huge win. Yep. With Philly, with the bad turnovers late, and they win that game when their defense just got gashed and probably should have lost that game, or it should have just been a field goal type game. So yeah, it'll be interesting tonight. So join us. Be there.
That's exactly why I kept it a smaller bet, because this is not a Dallas spot. Short week on the road after a huge divisional win against a team that you're chasing for first place in the division. You're not going to catch Philly, but at least you're still alive going into tonight that you could still take first place from them. But they've got to win out. Philly's got to lose out, and that's probably not going to happen. But that flat spot is a concern, but that's the one thing that'll be interesting to see, because I've seen Dallas do this shit, especially when they're expected to dominate and be double-digit favorites. It reminds me of the Houston game against Dallas a few weeks ago. Houston almost beat them, and they were 17-point underdogs in that game. So people are just they're betting Dallas hand over fist. Whoever has ultra confidence in them laying 13.5, Godspeed to you. I mean, my goodness, not for me.
Yeah,
that kind of bet. Right?
Me too.
13.5 on the road. Wow.
Yeah. But
not exactly.
We'll get some shit live. Hopefully we'll have we got some good props. I'm going through them here. So we'll have a good time.
Yeah, exactly. So tune in tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, Cowboys Titans live stream here on Pub Sports Radio, hosted by C-Mac. All right, best bets. Conor Mac, what do you got for best bet tonight?
Well, I'm waiting on, the Murray McCaffrey news, but even if they play, Nebraska plus 4.5. I'm taking them at home. I think they get it done. And the other one we mentioned, Ian, VMI plus 19.5. They cover against Furman. Just too many points. So those are my two.
All right, couple of best bets here for Conor Mac on this Thursday college basketball slate. My best bet for this Thursday card, coming off the win last night with Richmond and Coppin State over the total. I'm going to go back to that Iowa-Nebraska game in the Big Ten. I'm taking advantage of this. There's actually 149.5 at Caesars. That's what we're going to go with. Let's go over 149.5. Iowa and Nebraska. Now, look, Nebraska has not been, the same offensive team this year, and defensively they've improved, actually, Nebraska as well. So they've not been the over machine they've been in the past under Hoiberg. They've trended under, but Iowa has gone over in 3 straight. I think Iowa is potentially coming out with fire in their nostrils tonight after one of the most embarrassing losses any team will suffer against Eastern Illinois as 30-point favorites right before the break. I think Iowa comes out, storms Nebraska offensively, but I think Nebraska on their home floor, they'll score themselves as well and be able to chip in. And we've got a dominant over series history head-to-head between these two teams, 4 straight overs, and all of them well into the 160s. So I think we've got a good value here to go over this total with 149.5 here, Iowa, Nebraska, over 149.5 for my best bet here for this Thursday college basketball slate. All right, that'll wrap up this edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. And a reminder, tune into the Dallas Cowboys, Tennessee Titans live bet stream tonight with Conor Mac at 8 p.m. Eastern time. For Conor Mac, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.